I would like to quote Samir Amin. He is a very good friend and works together with Francois in the World Forum for Alternatives. Great ideas do not have any procreators, they say. They germinate on the fertile ground of collective struggles. They are refinement in the open and frank debate of their actors. Great ideas are the collective inventions of mankind. No, the great just ideas also have procreators. Those who, a little more lucid than others, endeavor to understand the unavoidable requirements of the coherence of thought and action. Beyond this lucidity, those who persevere with courage so that the great righteous ideas become material forces that change the world. Francois is an exemplary model. From 1996 onwards, he was able to counter the invasive tide of the liberal virus and to think of the need for a world forum that would become one of the privileged places to build the effectiveness of the resistance of the people who were victims of the system. He expressed this to Louvain-le-Neuve in 1996, an idea that convinced all of us. Without him, the World Forum for Alternatives, founded a year later in Cairo, would probably not have been born. Without him, the entry of this forum on the stage in Davos in 1999 would probably not have been imagined. Read the manifesto of the World Forum for Alternatives. The precision of the great just ideas that you will find here, their formulation with all the power of poetry, owe much to him. Let us not say to Francois, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do so. Let us say to him, we want to do as you do, as much as you do, as well as you do. So this is what Samir Amin wrote on the 90th birthday of Francois Houtart.
Francois Houtart are two things. And one of his strongest and best characteristics was his open mind. He was open to the whole world and to all people. He was really a very, very open mind and a very, very kind person. And the second thing, and that is very important, and that is why I appreciate him so very much, is that till the last day of his life, he was open to new ideas. I think we all know important intellectuals that have been living and working on the same ideas all their life. Whereas Francois, with the time and with times changing, he also changed his analysis. He changed the solutions that he proposed. And he was really innovative. And he is the one who came out with, he was 90, I think, or almost 90, with this idea of the common good of humanity. And that was really, it was also under the influence of his life in Ecuador, and the ideas of buen vivir, the good life.
Of course, it's very emotionally strong to speak from Francois, because we had a long common story, including in the World Social Forum. And I'd say that, in fact, I knew Francois from very, very long. There was in Europe some places that understood the importance of decolonization. And that decolonization was a new step in the story of humanity. And Francois was one of them. And he created the CETRI, who was really working on this, and with this idea that the question of decolonization and the new world is not a question of humanitarian. It's a political question. And that the fight is a political one. With Samir and Francois, we decide to make a demonstration at Davos. And it is starting from this, one of the start of this, that 1 year after was created by ATTAC, by Bernard Cassen, by the World Forum of Alternatives, and some others, the proposal of the World Social Forum, and the first meeting of the World Social Forum in Porto Alegre.
During the 80s in Nicaragua, where he used to live for a very long time, very close to the Jesuits, very close to theology of liberation, and so he was really with a political compromise, and that is important because those who know in Central America a little bit will agree to me when I say it's not exaggerated to say that there wouldn't have been any Sandinista revolution, there wouldn't have been any FMLN and the successful guerrilla movements without the contribution of priests like Francois Houtart, like the Jesuits, who form part that made the movement enormously grow.
My floor here is in order to just say how grateful I am to Lau Kin Chi for all the troubles all the effort she made in order to have this book here today, all the rush, all the last minute corrections, and mostly with the intention of being able to bring to you today this book. I know Francois since picture that is here in the book in September 1997, when he came to my house with Giulio Giraldi, and he was also with Frei Beto at that time. It was before the first visit of the Pope to Cuba. They went there to prepare the visit of the first visit of the Pope in Cuba, and I met these three wonderful. Frei Beto I already knew, but Giraldi and Francois I didn't, and he made a great impression on me. In fact, this book is the second edition of the memoirs of Francois Houtart. The first one was in 2006, and there was a shorter version. It was a shorter version because it went until 2006, and in 10 years he added double the book, because his activity was so much, it was so frantic, you never knew where Francois was. He was always in the other side of the world when you less expected. Even when he had a strong nature, a strong health, it's not natural with almost 90 years to travel the world with small luggage, up and down, looking to make connections. And that is what distinguished for me Francois the most. He was able to link people, he was very able to link movements, he was able to create synapses between people and between the different movements around the world.
And what I think about him after meeting him in different places, I think the first one was in Ecuador during the permanent tribunal on transnational. And then we have other involvement. But my concern about Francois is not about common good, because for me, what is the most important thing when we are speaking on common good is what is the common good for me is humanity, as not water, or it is second, but the first thing of the common good is humanity. And what I think and appreciate with Francois, it is his concern about humanity. And through common good, he tried to restore the sense of humanity. And what we have to do with the World Social Forum is not only to work on common good, but to how to restore this sense of humanity, how to question what it was done under the belief of there is a hierarchization of race and, of course, a hierarchization of human beings. And that's why it is very important as the process of World Social Forum is going on to not only to make action or to act or to react, it's also to think, to produce thinking on what it is to decolonize mind. Because if we are not decolonizing minds, we will never succeed to change the world and to propose alternatives.
All our team actually are involved in rural reconstruction movement in China. And we have a good relation with Francois Houtart because we also think that the peasant agriculture will be the response to the collectivization and also the rural capitalism. Last year, before he passed away, in early July, he invited Lau Kin Chi and I to talk about the peasant agriculture in China through the Skype meeting in Ecuador. But unfortunately, he passed away, and then we couldn't make this Skype conference. But his question always remind us how the peasant workers or peasant agriculture can contribute to fight against the capitalism in the 21st century. So he answers how the peasant worker work in China and how do peasants react facing the introduction of the market in his peasant forms in China. And in their project, a response is able to be a step towards a new paradigm. That means that peasant agriculture can it be a step beyond or a transition beyond the capitalism? This is his question, and it always reminds us how we respond to the peasant situation nowadays. And for the last few years, we had many interaction with Francois Houtart because we helped him cooperate with the secretary to organize a conference in Beijing. And we also conduct some rural research about the peasant in China. And we helped him to translate his book about the biofuels.
Say that Francois, he has been a very good friend because we have worked together a lot for the last 15 years in the World Forum for Alternatives, and we have been attending the World Social Forum, almost all of them, and we have been meeting each other. And in all these forums and in these activities, we share a common concern about the question of ecology, especially because we feel that although many of us have one of our resources of thinking and thought from Marxism, we are very critical about the question of modernization and capitalism. And so it is not enough just to critique the social relations of exploitation. It is very important to talk also about the ecological consequences, and especially when the majority of the people on the margin suffer from these ecological catastrophes that go together with modernization and capitalism. That is why with Francois, then we have been proposing how we could be articulating socioeconomic justice together with ecological justice. That the question of ecology is not something that we should take up in the final stage before we already develop. And Francois talked a lot about the common good of humanity, and he was trying to articulate in a coherent way our proposals for a different world, which is a world of humanity. But he is not speaking about these ideas as empty ideas of a visionary. He was doing this based on his very concrete experiences in the field. He has been to many places, and actually when he was very young, when he was a student, he was already traveling around, and he said that he is himself a Latin American, because at that time he traveled to many countries in Latin America, and somehow like Che Guevara, so he was seeing the misery and the strength of the people who are working and living at the ground level. So it is this encounter with the poor, with the marginalized, with the underprivileged, that he, as a priest, felt that the church had not done enough. He felt that and that is why he has so much, developed liberation theology, so that we would be looking for how we can be encountering the problems both at the ground level and at the same time at the macro level. So he would be talking about immediate steps that could be taken to improve the situation, but at the same time he would be proposing the medium-term and the long-term perspectives for change. Anyone who knows Francois would be very impressed by his gentleness. He was a very gentle, very kind person, very sympathetic, but at the same time I saw him with a lot of fury about the state that the people are in, that the majority of the people are in. He is so furious that he wants to do something. And I think we see him as a person of great energy, but I think his energy comes from his optimism and hope that something could be done. He would never give in to despair, to helplessness, to feeling vulnerable. He would always be looking for ways to do something, to make steps forward.